Evening, everyone. Hope you're all well. Welcome to Sports Unplugged. Well, it's not really going to be much on sports this weekend. It's going to be mainly football and
Bake Off.
And no, we're not going there. Bake Off. We're not going there strictly. I promise. I will end it as soon as Chris mentions it. I promise you. But it's mainly going to be looking at the football. We're going to have a quick look at the Championship, the Copa Libertadores final, which is on tomorrow night on BBC, 8 p.m. on the iPlayer. So it's there for anyone who wants it. Look, to be honest with you, myself and Chris know jack shit about the Copa Libertadores. We just know that it's usually a lively, feisty game.
I'll definitely be watching it.
Yeah, it's the first final that you've had two Brazilian sides in it for a long time, and we know a bit about Flamengo, so it should be a decent game. And there's not an awful lot else unless you want to sit and watch Barcelona again tomorrow night. So, each to their own. Not my cup of tea, to be honest. But we're just going to have a look at what's going on around the continent as well. Some big games on this weekend, some important games, especially at the top of La Liga. Real Madrid and Seville. Real Madrid have quietly gone about their business. They're top of La Liga at the minute. And after the loss to us, Atleti have kind of gone into a bit of a free fall. They're down in fourth at the minute, and they're not looking good. So you've got Atleti needing a result in their game this weekend. But Real Madrid against Seville, first against third, that's definitely one to watch on Sunday night. See if Madrid can carry on their form. They've got a good young squad, so we'll see how that goes. But the main focus for us this weekend really is going to be the Premier League. And we'll get to Liverpool later on, but we'll start at the start. First game of the weekend, Arsenal-Newcastle. How do you see that one going, Chris?
I'm expecting routine Arsenal win, but it's Arsenal, so anything's possible. But look, Newcastle, they just look a mess. They still look a mess to me. Even the Brentford one was like all excited because they scored 3. It was a car crash. They still look a car crash at the back. They just look a car crash waiting to happen. And you can't keep relying on shipping 3 every week and expecting results. I know Liverpool have done it in some games recently, but that's more the exception than the rule. It's at Arsenal. Newcastle's record at Arsenal is not the best. I'm thinking 2-0 Arsenal. Job done. Yeah. Nothing to worry about. It just feels like one of those games.
I think, look, when we played Arsenal, we absolutely battered them out of the place. But that's as good as we've been for a while. We haven't played well. We've got results and got wins, but we haven't been playing well. Even against Porto the other night, I thought we were really lucky to get away with that first half performance. Any better? If we turn up like that against Southampton, we're in trouble. The misses that Porto had in the first half were diabolical misses. If Arsenal turn up to anything kind of like the form they showed in the previous 10 games before us, it should be a comfortable day. But you wouldn't know. This, like you said, the Arsenal, you never know with Arsenal. And Newcastle, I think Eddie Howe's biggest problem is Eddie Howe I don't think he's capable of setting up that Newcastle side to be defensive.
No.
And that's why I think he won't stay up.
That was his ultimate downfall of Bournemouth. In the end, is he did well to keep Bournemouth for 5 years, and not dismissing that, but every year defensively it felt like they got worse.
Yeah.
And he never quite got the balance right. And I still think I just look at that side going, defensively they're not good enough. So they're gonna have to attack. And they've got goal scorers in them. I don't know if they've got enough goal scorers. I mean, Joe Willock couldn't stop scoring last year. This year, he's not really got a run in the side. I can't work out why, because he's a good player.
And one of his first things that Eddie Howe came out with is that he really rates John Shelby. And if John Shelby is going to be the fulcrum of his midfield, as good as his passing range is, he turns like the Titanic.
Yeah.
They're going to get Arsenal should open them up pretty handy. I have it down 3-1, but anything wouldn't surprise me. I can't see any way Newcastle get something out of this unless Arsenal do something like get 2 sent off. They'd have to be really, really poor.
Yeah. What they need is they need Arsenal to have an off day, and they need someone like a St. Max again to have one of his brilliant games, which listen, St. Max is perfectly capable of doing that. And if Wilson's back, at least with Wilson, generally, if he gets a sniff a goal, he's got to work the keeper.
Yeah.
He does really well. It's how open they can be. So I will be very surprised if it's not an Arsenal win. Listen, don't get me wrong, if it isn't, it'll be hilarious. But if Newcastle lose this one, it's a long run till January.
Yeah.
And as much as all this money will come in and it will improve their squad, I'm no doubt it will. I'm not. Who are you going to attract? I know money talks, but
I don't think money talks that loud.
Yeah.
The only thing that money talks, when a club is in that position, money talks to mercenaries and to players who aren't good enough to get into first 11 anywhere that's competing.
The only thing it'll help them with is if there's someone, say, Leeds are like just above the relegation at the moment. I'm not saying they're in the same boat, but say Leeds were going for a player that Newcastle think they could get, Newcastle could probably outbid them.
Yeah.
So that's where it'll help them, is possibly outbidding rivals to get them out the gap. It's just how big the gap's going to be. I mean, even Norwich are above them now.
Yeah, I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be big. I honestly think it's going to be big. The problem is the likes of your Burnleys, Leeds are going to get players back.
Yeah.
Dean Smith will get a tune out of. Dean Smith will make Norwich hard to beat.
Well, I mean, the biggest thing he's done already is the obvious one, is he's brought Cantwell back into Norwich.
Yeah,
Cantwell's one of their more creative players. I mean, last time he was
get on to Norwich in a bit.
But last time he was linked with us, Everton. Either top four sides or sides just below the top four. He's got that kind of in him. He probably hasn't quite kicked on the way you wanted, but I was amazed he wasn't playing well for us. Clearly something had gone on there.
There's something definitely going on in the background.
His social media made that pretty obvious that something had gone on between him and the manager, and he didn't hide it at all.
No. Well, I went 3-1, and I think Newcastle have a goal in them, but I'd expect Arsenal. I'd expect Arsenal to get back into winning ways. I'd be surprised if they don't. Then you got a run of 3 o'clock kickoffs. There's only 5 games on tomorrow.
Yeah, the European games have really kicked in, haven't they?
Palace against Villa. I mean, if you're looking at 2 managers on the sideline, and there you go, Paddy Vieira, Steven Gerrard on the sidelines, and you're the 4th official, you're just praying for a quiet day, aren't you, really?
I think so, yeah. I actually think that could be one of the games of the weekend, that.
You reckon?
I think it could be quite a good game, because Palace aren't like they were under Hodgson. They're more expansive. They've got goals in them. They've got Benteke scoring. They've got Edouard as a backup option. Zaha just looks happy. And to us, when Zaha's happy, he's a nightmare to play against. Defensively, Palace look fine. They've got a decent keeper. And then Villa, a little bit of the new manager bounce. They looked good in their last game. Watkins finally off the mark. Ings is still about there for them. It'd be interesting to get Buendia firing for him. So I think it could be like that. I've gone for a high scoring 2-2. Yeah.
I went 2-0 Palace. The thing is, I think Gerrard's gonna want to make Villa solid.
Yeah.
That's his first and foremost, hard to beat. 2 banks of 4 or 4-3-3, but it's really a 4-5-1. And just try to make them solid. I just think Palace have too much about them. I think they'll be able to get to work good spaces on the wings and create enough chances to score.
Be interesting to see how Gerrard takes a loss as well.
See, for me,
he can't do what he did at Rangers, like he did in his first season. Because he won't get. He'd get away with that in Scotland because he set a standard and he kind of said, "Look, not quite threw players under the bus, but he made them know that they weren't good. Certain players weren't pulling their weight."
Yeah.
That doesn't work, I don't think, in the Premier League very often. I think you've got to pick your moments when you do it. Klopp very rarely does it. Pep very rarely does it. So when they do, you'll go, Christ, that's a moment. That's a wake-up call. So like Klopp's comment about body language after we drew with Brighton.
Yeah.
I've never heard him say that in the previous 18 months.
Yeah.
Which I think for some players, that'll be the, oh shit, I hope it doesn't mean me. And that's all they need. Yeah. I don't think Gerrard could do that after game 2. So I think he's got to play it the right way, the nice way.
Yeah, I think the thing with Jared, and I'm curious to see how he handles it. I'm curious. I want to see how he handles failure as a manager,
Mm.
not personally, but I want to see him how he gets a group of players to react after a run of 4 or 5 losses. When pressure is really on him, to it's a different type of pressure when you're in Scotland because you're winning. The pressure is to win everything. When you're at a club in the Premier League, say that's maybe in the top, in around 15th, with aspirations of getting into the top 8, it's a different type of pressure because you're not going to win every game. You're not going to have the ball all the time. You're not going to have your own way. You are going to get battered once in a while. And it's how he takes that as a person and as a manager and how the group react to what he wants to do. It's important. It's an important period of his career, this, for what happens.
He doesn't want to fall into the Brendan Rodgers trap, which was
overthinking
things. Because I remember Rodgers, for a while we played 3-5-2, and it worked fine. We went to Arsenal. We just played piss poor, basically. Got beat, and that was it then. Right. The whole system changed. The whole formation changed. Everything changed. And that sends the wrong message. That sends well, this works until it doesn't. And when it doesn't, I'm going to change everything, which gets no player buy-in whatsoever.
It's going to be interesting to see how he gets on with it.
Because we'll go back. Go back to Klopp. To be fair, Guardiola does this as well. And Conte actually does this as well. Is they have a way of playing, and they go, well, he's out. So Rodgers would do he's out, so I'll move 3 players and we'll work it out. Klopp just goes, it's 4-3-3. If Manny's out, somebody else comes and plays what Manny does. Even if they're not quite as good as him, he goes, I ain't changing the whole system for a player being out, and that's it. Yeah. And everyone knows that. So it kind of then goes, get on with it or get out. I mean, to be fair, that's what happened to Benteke. He didn't want to get on with it, so he went.
Yeah, and he's not alone in that.
No, there's a few, and that's, we've seen it at City, with plenty of good players at City, and they've gone, they don't want to do what Pep wants to do. So he goes, off you go.
Yeah.
That's probably what we don't do up the M6, up in Manchester.
Up in Manchester, yeah. But they're a whole different kettle of fish altogether. We'll get to them too. Norwich Wolves. See, for me, this is a curious one because I don't know how this is going to go. I don't know if Dean Smith, I don't know what he can do with the Norwich side that's got mental scars and that are halfway down already. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's sort of fancy Wolves because Wolves on the quiet have just slowly got up the league, down. I think they're like 6th or 7th now. After a shaky start where performances probably weren't getting the results, they're now sort of finding ways of winning. And they're just becoming quietly efficient. Jimenez starting to score goals again is a big thing for them because that's what, Jimenez before his head injury was just ridiculous, and he still is. And to be honest, I do think if it wasn't for his head injury, would he still be at Wolves?
I'd have taken him in a heartbeat.
Yeah, me too.
I would have taken him in a heartbeat because he is, first of all, Raul Jimenez is a good footballer. He's got a good brain. He's intelligent. He can play the 9 and he can drop off a bit. He ain't your typical 9.5 type striker, but he's very careful about what he does and what he doesn't do. Laura is spot on. Wolves are quietly having a decent season. Wolves are a very good watch.
Yeah, they're more expansive now, which is
considering what they were under Nuno. When they started off really good and just became more defensive and more dour, you're finally starting to see a Nelson Semedo that we saw at Barcelona. And we're starting to see Adama Traore take up a seat on the bench where he should be. And you're seeing Wang and
he's been a very clever signing for them.
Wang, Trincao, and Jimenez.
Prudence is still
Prudence is back.
He's a handy player. And what I like is the young lad Silva. He's not the main. He's not
Fabian Silva.
He's not now seen as the problem with last year. He was the kid last year, but you've got to keep us up. It's far too much pressure on a young kid. That now it is
the 30 million quid they paid for him.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So that brings its own pressure.
Whereas now you're the backup to Jimenez, so you come in for the last 20 minutes, you come in for the last half an hour, you'll get the League Cup, you get the FA. He's being blooded in gently, and I think that's long term going to suit his profile. Just sticking him up front for the last, you could just tell he wasn't ready, and it was cruel then because it was making it hard. hard. So I was like, I'm sort of. The only thing I still worry about with Wolves, and I don't know if it's just because we battered Porto 5-0, is I'm not a massive fan of the keeper. So I don't. I think
he was in Greece for a while.
Yeah, he's definitely a step down from the keeper they had.
Yeah, he is. Oh, no doubt. But Sa is still in or around the Portuguese squad. He's number 2 for Portugal.
He's number 2 for Portugal, like Mignolet's number 2 for Belgium. You know what I mean? He's there because he is probably the second best keeper, but he's second by some distance.
I think whenever I've seen him, his decision making lets him down a bit. He's a good shot stopper. His distribution's good. It's just his decision making of when he comes is a bit something to learn. You know, it's something that he's got to learn. I went for 2-0 Wolves.
I went
purely simply because I don't think Norwich. I mean, they won last weekend, but their position on their position on the table. Fine, you can down tools for a manager, but it doesn't lie that much. Dean Smith has his work cut out. I think he'll give him a better chance of staying safe. Whether he does or not, I don't know.
Yeah,
there's still a long way to go.
I went 2-1 to Wolves. I think it'd be a tight game, but I think it's a game Wolves just find a way of getting something out of it. So
interesting. It'd be a decent one for match of the day because it's one of those games that
it should be a good game.
It should be a good watch. You know, they're not going to be your lumped forward. They'll both try and play. And the late kickoff. We'll get to Liverpool in a bit.
We'll do Liverpool at the end.
We'll do Liverpool
because we have got. Don't worry, we have got a guest coming on. He's just running a bit late, so Callum will be here shortly as well.
Yeah. Brighton Leeds.
This will be a good game.
This is a game where both sides desperate for a result, and both sides for different reasons. Brighton had a really good start to the season, but they've flattered to deceive. Their performance against us was good, but since then they've just not been right. Something, I don't know whether it's a case they were in a false position beforehand, a rich vein of form, but they have not been anywhere near the races. And on the flip side, then you have Leeds, who can't get a soul fit at the minute, and they're playing kids. You've got youth players on the bench, and they ran. I think their game against Tottenham, I felt sorry for them in the end because it was their legs ran out.
Their legs ran out, but they paid the price for the first half. I know Dan James scored his goal, but they should have been 2 or 3 up at half time, and it just had the feeling of if you're only 1 up at half time, Spurs at some point are going to get a shot on target. At some point, are going to win. Yeah, it almost felt a bit of a tailor-made game for Spurs that in the end. Leeds are hard to judge this year at the moment because I've been critical of their style of play because I feel like they moved away from what they were doing so well January last year onwards, where they were a bit more solid, but still very expansive, still you know a dangerous side, but not quite as wide open that it was easy for people to do what United did to them and pick them off like we did to them, to be fair. But then there's also part of me going, there's so many players missing.
Where'd you start?
Where'd you start? You know, if all the players come back and if all the players come back and they're still playing the same way, then it's a manager question.
Bonkers LFC, they're asking, is Rafinha back? I don't know.
Because of fancy football he is.
I think he's trained, but whether Bielsa will throw him back in, I don't know. He's an oddball. He's an oddball like that. Bielsa's a serious oddball at the best of times, but he's very, very meticulous about when he brings players back in when they're coming back from injuries. They have to be at a certain level before he'll bring them in.
Yeah,
is
that a possibility? The problem is it's hard to tell because we don't know who are all these injuries an accumulation of how they play. Because I mean, this is always an accusation of Klopp that he'd burn players out and he'd run them to the ground, or is it? You know, the missing players there, like Laura Duffy puts, you know, Ayling, Cock, and Bamford are out.
Yeah,
they're key players. I mean, Ayling was key for them last year, and Bamford, he is the main goal threat.
Yeah, it's not so much the goal threat; it's the link up that Bamford brings. Bamford brings everyone else into play. and everyone focuses around him. He's vital to how that system is set up, and Leeds are in danger of being dragged into a battle that they shouldn't be in, and they need January quickly.
Yeah,
They need to do something in January because they're in danger of being dragged into a relegation fight, and it wouldn't be the first time that you'll see second season
syndrome hit someone.
Yeah, and I mean we'll see soon enough, but I think they're in desperate need. They're in desperate need of something, and Bielsa with this year-on-year contract.
That's how he works. I mean, but
I'm not a fan of it. But
I'm not either. I think he wants someone to sort of commit to that for a little bit.
Yeah,
not saying he's not committed, but he's only there for a year. If some players bad enough to go, we'll give it a year. He'll be gone anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely. What did I go with? I went 2-1 Brighton, but it's a 50-50. Anything could happen in this game. If they get Rafinha back and Brighton are still off form, Leeds could definitely run 2 or 3 on them. On the other side, Brighton are well capable with their system and the way how they're fluid in the way they play. They're much better at the minute than what Spurs are, and they're well capable of running up a good score on them as well. So God knows which way it'll go. I certainly wouldn't be putting this one in any accumulator over the weekend.
I went 2-1 Brighton because they're at home. That was literally what swayed me slightly to Brighton. Was they're at home and they've got a bit more fitness in the side.
Yeah, Brentford, Everton.
This will be fun. Everton have got no strike. Sorry, they got Rondon. Because
what's wrong with Richarlison now?
He's suspended now because he wasn't getting the ball. He decided to boot a City player and get himself his 5th yellow card. He's only been back 5 minutes. Honest to God, this is where sometimes you look at a manager. I feel sorry for a manager. Sometimes you're going like, what can you do when your main striker just boots some fella and gets himself suspended? So they've got to go with Rondon up front now. Mina's still a doubt. I think Davis is definitely out. Holgate's still suspended. He won't be back till after the derby. Decore's they reckon might be back for the derby. Touch and go whether he's back for today. I was kind of hoping Decore went back till after the derby because he's
a good player. He's all jokes aside, he's their best player by an absolute country fucking mile.
He's what they're missing in midfield. He's got everything. He's got mobility, good passing range, and he just keeps them going. He also covers Allen's lack of pace.
Yeah, Allen's one of these players. If you'd have got Allen 5 years ago, was a really, really solid, deep lying midfielder who could do it all. But he's almost like, do you know those players that you often see that they age overnight? Whatever happened to him when he moved to England, he had probably 3 or 4 months, and then winter hit, and he just don't like it. It doesn't suit him. He's just nowhere near it.
Yeah,
and as he's another sinkhole that they've thrown good money on,
but there's also the Italian factor is there aren't masses of players who have moved from Italy to England and done really, really well, especially Italian players. So I don't know whether he's just, like you said, has he just come at the wrong time of his career? It's not really a league you want to come to when you're getting slower and you're getting a bit older. He's a good player.
Yeah, I mean the thing is there's plenty of Brazilian lads around the city, so I'm sure they all mix together. So it's not like he hasn't got people around him that that he can't communicate with. It's just weird.
Yeah, Naguib Mohammed saying Everton haven't won in 6 at the moment, which is it's some run that. But again with Everton is, and it was David Lynch actually who pointed this out, saying, why is anyone surprised by this? Said you took last year's squad and invested $1.5 million, and you wonder why it's not quite good enough. You're going, it's a good point, really, because they literally added Townsend, a backup goalkeeper, and
the kid from that was at Leicester,
Gray, who to be fair, Gray's done really well. Townsend's done fine for them, but probably wasn't enough. And then 2 or 3 injuries, you can see why that wasn't enough. Also, when you lose your main striker, Calvert-Lewin, he was their goal machine.
And he's good enough. He's good enough at that level, But Brentford aren't without their problems.
The keeper situation.
The keeper situation is an absolute dire situation for them.
Bringing it back to our game with them, I mean, we were dog shit at the back leg, but their keeper made 2 or 3 top saves.
Yeah. And he doesn't look like he should be a keeper. He looks like, he's not big, he's not tall, he's not rangy, but he gets there. Do you know what I mean? His positioning sense is really good. They're going to really miss him. He's out for another 3, maybe 4 months. It's a huge miss.
This could drag Brentford into a real relegation scrap because he's such a pivotal player for them. Because and they'll probably hope for a bit more out of 2 strikers. Well, Tony and the guy's name going on my head. Oh, the other striker for Laura Duffy will tell me in the chat in a minute. The other striker, he was brilliant. He's been brilliant for them since the start of the season. Probably took the shine off Tony.
Is it?
That's it. Yeah, he took a bit of the shine off Tony. Which is a good, good thing.
Yeah,
but
it'll be one of those games that I think it'll be last, if not last on match of the day, unless something crazy happens.
Yeah,
but I went 2-0 Brentford, 2-1 Brentford, purely and simply because they're at home, and
I went 1-1. I thought Everton were probably just about doing enough to get a draw, but I couldn't see Everton winning, but I couldn't see Brentford losing either. It wouldn't surprise me a Brentford win though, but my gut feel is it's a 1-1. It's a tight. It's just be probably quite a non-eventful game. To be honest, that's what it feels like. Speaking of things that are less non-eventful, Spurs. Oh my Lord, where's Matt? We need to get Matt on the show, don't we?
Yeah, definitely. Do you know what? I feel for him because I did a pub with Matt Hayes the other week, and Matt is probably one of the most realistic Spurs fans I've ever seen in my life. They can be happy with Conte. Conte is a good signing, but I think Thursday night showed Antonio Conte the scale of the job that he's got.
Massive. I'd never even heard of the team they were playing. I'd never heard of them.
No, nor did I. And it wasn't.
To be fair to them, their first goal was brilliant, by the way.
Yeah.
Poor defender by Sanchez, who should show him outside, lets him quit outside, but the finish is brilliant. That's beating most keepers, but
that's bad enough. But to do it again,
I know
in the last minute,
it was so. As the phrase is Spursy, but it's
so Spursy. It's unreal.
That's where the phrase comes from. Is
you
get yourself in there, get yourself about right. Speaking of Spursy, there's Callum. Don't worry, guys.
Nice.
We're going to get big guests on the show.
Apologies, guys.
Aye, busy boy. You're a busy man.
Apologies.
How are we?
Not too bad.
Not too bad.
Not as bad as Spurs. I just heard you saying about Spurs.
We're talking about we're going through the Premier League game, so we're up to Burnley Spurs, and we're just having a laugh at Spurs lose to a side that I didn't know existed.
Well, apparently they were founded in 2012.
Well, there you go. Then.
That's fair enough then.
They beaten by a millennial.
It's crazy, isn't it? But it's like I was just saying that Conte Thursday night was shown the scale of the job that's in front of him, and it's crazy. On paper, Spurs have a decent squad on paper, but they've down tools for 3 managers now, and you've got a striker who wants the door. You've got Moura, who's 2 years past his best. They brought in Jill, and why? If you're not going to play the kid, Son looks like he's stale, needs a move.
Good job, he's had a new contract, wasn't it?
You're playing Eric Dyer at centre back still. You know what I mean? Antonio Conte managed against Spurs with an Eric Dyer in his side. He rocks up and he's like, "You're still here."
Something positive, Kev. To be honest,
you'll be waiting. You will be waiting. January is not going to save them.
And then they had young Session. And they said this is his chance to try and finally make a mark at Spurs. And poor lad was gone within half an hour. I was like, "Oh God!" He just like.
I don't get it.
It feels very.
Why Anthony Conte.
It feels very Liverpool. Probably end of Rafa period. Just like we've got loads of lads. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what. I've got to the point with Spurs where I'm not sure even it is that they've down tools for the last two, 3 managers. I just don't think they're good enough. I've heard lots of players. They're just not good enough. Everyone keeps saying, "Oh, they've let this manager out to dry." Going, no, this is probably their level. Players have gone stale. Players probably want moved, and so they've got some players that just aren't good enough.
Yeah, but mate, when you see players that just don't run, that's not stale.
Oh, can't run.
Just can't be bothered.
Or in Harry Kane's case, can't because his ankle has snapped.
They won't have to run far against Burnley, in fairness. I mean, they're playing Burnley. You don't have to move that very much with Burnley.
You do have to jump. You do.
Like this.
Yeah, but you do have to jump at Burnley.
Jump,
and they can't.
And in fairness, Wood will score. Mark it now. Chris Wood will score. Nailed on 100% because the centre back, he will have a field day playing against 3 centre backs, jumping between the 3 of them.
Yeah.
And the winger that Burnley brought in from France, Max Cornet, for whatever reason, is
on form at the moment, isn't he?
Showing the player that I thought was there 2 years ago, that I couldn't believe was still in France. He's definitely using Burnley as a platform, which if you're Burnley, happy days, no problem. That's going to be their new business model. That's the way their new owners want to go. Fine. That's a great advert for their new business models. If you're going to take the Max Cornets of this world, give them a platform, and in 18 months down the line, pawn them off for 35, 40 million, good. But I can see Burnley doing a real number on Spurs, and they can ask as many questions of the manager as they like. It's nothing to do with the manager. It's players. The players are a joke.
Yeah. Conte apparently said he needs 4 players in January. Listen, mate, I need to lose about 3 or 4 stone and, make my hair less grey. But, some things
Let's not go there, right?
Ain't going to happen, are they? So, there's more chance of me and Callum agreeing on something.
Very true. All jokes aside, if they were to sign 4 players, which I'm not going to ask for name, but which of the 4 positions you'd really say they have to address now?
They need 2 centre-backs.
And a centre mid.
A mobility centre mid. And they probably need someone who can score goals other than Harry Kane. So
goalkeeper.
Can't get that in one window.
No, you can't.
No.
They desperately need a
spine.
They desperately need a spine. And they've
Lloris is past his best, isn't he?
They're very close to becoming what Arsenal have been fighting against for 10 years. And I think they're actually there. I think, to be fair, Lloris was a decent keeper. And I mean decent as in, you're good enough. But when your centre-backs in front of you, no matter whether it's a 2 or a 3, are making brain-dead errors like they made on Thursday night, I don't care who your goalkeeper is. Yeah. There's only so much he can do. And
Agreed.
It's centre-backs they need. It's a defence. Solid base and build from there. That's Conte's mantra. Whether he goes back to Italy to look at some of the players who are there, maybe Juventus are in trouble at the minute.
Yeah.
Someone like a De Ligt. I don't think De Ligt. See, this is the advantage of someone.
He's another one he's gone stale, hasn't he? But
big money as well, and he's with Raiola as well.
Yeah.
Do you remember the Chiellini quote about him? He's come to Italy and said his manager, he's got an agent trying to move, and said he basically said he needs to get his head down and play. He's actually De Ligt's gone backwards since going to Italy. And to be honest, I thought going to Italy was a perfect move for a young centre back. That's how you learn how to defend. Players to Chiellini, you'll learn how to defend. It's the art. It's the artful. It'd be like the best learning curve he'll ever have.
I think Spurs are in a world of trouble. And
although Lord Duff does point out there's no Tarkowski or Westwood for Burnley this weekend. That's a key part of their team missing that. To be fair,
yeah, I'd still have them down for 2-0.
Oh yeah, still going Spurs. We're still not backing Spurs.
I've got a draw for this one.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah. Sorry, I told Chris. We're not. We're not going to agree, Chris.
Yeah, I just think at home after the week the Spurs have had, traveling away and then traveling up north, and the weather is going to be shocking. They're given weather warnings left, right, and centre. We'll get there, Nate. Don't worry. I just don't think they fancy it. I honestly don't think they've got the stomach for it. I think Burnley over 90 minutes will just outwork them. They'll physically beat them. And
the biggest
Spurs.
thing. The biggest
Sorry, I was
thing.
going to say Conte's system depends on that two-man midfield being so flexible. And Højbjerg is a good player in that system, but you need another Højbjerg next to him. You need another worker, and don't have it, and that's where Burnley will have space. And if they can work space in the middle, they can get space wide from on the back of that. So I think I'd be surprised if Burnley don't win it. I just can't see Spurs getting in and out of this trip just for that simple reason: the traveling, the weather, the fight, the bottle, you name it. There's just nothing positive in that squad at the minute.
Yeah. I think Spurs in danger of, Joe, we talk about the supposed big six, that they still talk about the big six. It'll get to a point where they're not being talked about.
Or they'll get replaced.
Or they'll get replaced with
Arsenal. Eventually Newcastle once they get relegated, but they will get relegated.
They will.
That's 100%. But we've got 2 years peace and quiet until they come back.
Yeah. What if we can offload anyone to Newcastle? That's probably a different story. Then.
Yeah.
Oh, you said it. You said
I
it.
know you're going to tell Drifty. I'll tell him myself. if Newcastle come in 40 million for Divock, I'll drive him to Toon myself.
Do you know what, though? I never thought
I'll rent you the car.
I never thought so, though. Only if they replace him. You still need a squad option.
Yeah.
Even if I'd rather have him there than nothing.
Yeah.
And at least he knows the system.
Yeah,
he does.
One thing that. Oh, look, we'll get there in a minute. Leicester Watford. This could be anything.
I think it's a routine Leicester win. There's no Sarr for Watford. No Sarr for Watford.
Is Sarr out?
Sarr's out, apparently. That's a big...
Dennis has looked really good.
I like Emmanuel Dennis. I like him.
Really good.
Yeah. I think they'll be buzzing off the back of that win against United because the scoreline didn't flatter them. If anything, it should have been more. It's
could be they could take a penalty.
And I don't I don't think Leicester are that good.
I think they've gone
simply
they've gone stale, haven't they? They feel like they've gone a bit stale. But they've got options. They've got the mad thing is they've actually probably got more attacking options now than they had 2-3 years ago.
Yeah.
That's the mad thing. Maybe it's the manager's gone stale.
I'd like to see. I can't wait. I want to see James Justin, when he comes back. I liked him.
He's a big loss, because he was brilliant for them.
Yeah, but they're not short of fullbacks though. They've got Justin, Pereira, Castagna, Bertrand. There's someone else.
Well, Johnny Evans pulled up injured the other night. Whether it was just a precaution that they pulled him out of the Europa League game because it was it Amavi went and played centre back.
Yeah, he's done that a few times. It doesn't suit his game. Luke Thomas, there you go. Somebody else. That's the other fullback.
Luke Thomas. Yeah,
Fofana's another one to come back. They've definitely got players to come back. That's a point, actually, Bejan. Did the Brendan Rodgers link to United destabilize them in any way?
They were
don't know.
I think they're already in that. It's a handy. It's a convenience excuse, I would say.
Yeah, I think the Tillemans injury. That's probably their biggest miss. That's their biggest loss. And bar Watford's game against us, Claudio's got them more defensively sound.
Yeah.
So I can't remember what I put. I put it down as a 2-2 because I think this one could genuinely just be a Madden.
I put 2-0 Leicester.
I'm gonna go 1-0 Leicester.
Yeah, it'd be an interesting watch. City against West Ham.
West Ham. This is a funny one because also if it wasn't for the last couple of years, I'd have just gone 5-0 City, move on, because that's literally what they did all the time. But West Ham, they're a different kettle of fish. And I'm not just saying because they beat us. They've been steadily building for over the last 2 years now. That it's a good squad.
Is Antonio available for this game?
I don't know. Let me Google why you.
Because someone popped into our chat earlier and said that they don't know if Antonio's available. That would really.
I think he was really off it when he came back from the internationals, wasn't he? He just didn't look right, and whether it was just a case. Look, he's not used to the traveling. Like
it's a long journey to Jamaica as well.
Our lads are quite used to it. You know, they've been doing this. You know, coming back from Brazil or anywhere in South America, rest, acclimatize, back playing again. Our lads are really used to that. That takes a lot of getting. Anyone who's ever traveled transatlantic will tell you that it takes a couple of days before you're anywhere near right at the best of times, let alone.
Yeah. According to the BBC, West Ham are set to recall Antonio and Fabianski after they were rested against Rapid Vienna.
Yeah, the rest would have done him good. Hopefully he plays. And Dicko, they're spot on. Agbana is a
big loss.
Yeah.
He ain't the quickest.
We did a watch. Kev, you were on our watch along for that, weren't you?
Yeah.
I said it straight away. I was like, that looks like ACL.
Yeah. Because it was just one of those.
That's the bad thing. He played over a couple of minutes and went,
that's what I say. People don't realize the adrenaline can actually get you through a little bit with an ACL, depending on the type of tear.
And the way he pulled up that day, it just because I remember the first thing I thought, oh no. And I'm like that with any player. I hate seeing players being injured. But he's one of these guys, he's been a steady Eddie journeyman centre back for a long time without getting any real praise. But he's very, very good. He's very solid. He's very dependable. He's positionally brilliant. And
he's what Zuma needs to learn. He's perfect for Zuma to learn off.
Great shot, Chris.
And build up to it. Because Zuma's got all the talent. You know, we said it at Chelsea, we said it at Everton. But I think he still needs that lead. So he may never be a number one centre back. Maybe he's always a number two centre back, which is it's no bad thing. You know, we've got a number two centre back in Matip, and he's doing really well for us. So, but I do wonder that's the one is how does it destabilise the leadership side of it? Because unless you're looking at Cresswell doing it, but as we saw last year, Robbo had to do that for us, and it can stabilise them then because they're not used to it. You know, they're used to having that voice next to them. So. I've gone 2-1 City because I just think City found a way. City rested a few. Big win against PSG. As much as it loathes me to give City praise, you know, beat PSG 2-1. You know, you can't. 2-0, sorry. 2-1. You can't quibble at that.
PSG ain't all that. They really ain't.
Said this as well.
When you're playing with three up front who just are like defending is for other people.
It's always been a criticism.
Eventually, that finds you out.
But that's always been the criticism of City is they play these bigger names and they wilted a bit sometimes in the past. So they haven't, you know, and they did it from a goal down. So little bit of things that probably 2 years, the year they finished second to us, that was always City's problem. They went 1-0 down and they played with the it's not our day attitude. They seem to have lost that and gone with I don't care if 1-0 down, we'll still beat them anyway. But Carragher's, but a few said it, you know, our front three run, City's front three run. You know, and work hard. Chelsea's attack works really hard. Get you a lot of places. You know, talent. Do all the hard work. Yeah, do all the hard work. The talent will just take over after that. Exactly. If you got to stand still, you've got no chance.
Yeah,
I think if he went there, isn't he?
Yeah, look, I think PSG are fine in the domestic league. They'll walk away with it. There's only 2 or 3 other sides that are going to really give them a game, but that's only on a one-off. Over the course of the season, they'll walk that league. Their biggest problem is going to be come March time when the league is over for them. Same as what it is going to be for Bayern when they're not playing meaningful games Saturday, Wednesday. That will find them out in Europe as you come up against the really good sides. When you get into the last 8 and last 4 in Europe, you're not coming up against Muppets. And if you're not on it from your domestic form, it's very rare you can go into Europe on the back of poor runs domestically and win. You know, you got to be really lucky. And I think this season, that kind of form will find you out. And I think PSG are very flimsy. They're flaky. And when they're on it, they're great. They're fantastic. They're an entertaining watch. But when they don't have the ball, they're not that hard to get at, as sides like Rennes and Lyon and one or two others have shown this year. Even if they've gone on to eventually lose games for 70 minutes, 80 minutes domestically in games, they've been under a lot of pressure and made to look pretty average. It's just their quality shows out in the end against that level of competition. But when it comes to Man City against West Ham, I have them down for a 3-1, purely and simply because City are very effective at what they do. They'll pass you to death, force you into a mistake, pull you out of a position where you don't want to go, and capitalize on it. And they don't need to be brilliant at doing that. They're just very, very stubborn at doing it. So, yeah, I wouldn't be too fussed about that. Laura, Foden, and Grealish.
They'll just bring in Mahrez and Sterling instead.
Oh, yeah.
Oh gosh. Whatever will they do?
They can play Gundogan in a 9.
Yeah.
And I think Rodri has been one of their best players over the last few years. He's built on again and again. I think he's gotten better and better. The more he's adapted to England, he's been brilliant. And as much as it, hey,
Laporte's back, isn't
he? Laporte's back, so they can rest one of the others. But yeah, I just don't see West Ham. I'd love to be wrong, and I hope for our sake that I'm wrong. But yeah, I can't see City fluffing their lines there, to be honest.
I see it opposite.
Yeah,
I see a 2-1 win for West Ham.
I hope you're right.
For once, I
know it's a bold shout, and I'm obviously not going to sit here and be surprised if City go and smash.
Clip that someone.
No, especially if it's away. I mean, it's City are at home, aren't they? So
yeah, the reason why I say it is West Ham are a very, very effective counter-attacking team. They're going to give up possession to City. They pretty much gave up possession to us. Mikel Antonio against whoever they play at centre-back is not going to be easy for those centre-backs. And I'll be honest, I think we've got the best equipped centre-backs in the league to deal with someone like a Mikel Antonio. Technically, he's good, not fantastic. But he runs his socks off, he's strong, and he doesn't give defenders rest. Plus the other players supporting him on the counter-attack. City do struggle a lot with teams that can counter-attack effectively. And I do think West Ham will set up strong defensively. They're not going to leave a lot of space in behind. And I do see them getting a couple of goals on the counter and winning the game.
The only thing that makes me think that won't happen is they are the best side at tactical fouling.
Who are City?
City, it's an art form. The amount of times they get away with it. And
that is true.
And Pep hates people bringing it up because then it means referees might start notes at it. And look, listen, that's the way to win the game sometimes. But
yeah,
you know.
I've always said
we should for their second goal. That's what we should have done.
I'm just gonna say that. I'm not a fan of someone kicking lumps out of someone or even tripping someone up because you never know what could happen. But I'll be the first to say if I'm playing centre midfield or centre back and if I lose a man, I'm grabbing their shirt. I'm grabbing shorts. I'm grabbing something. You're not getting that ball.
I don't want to know.
That's for another show. That's for another show.
I'm not sure what type of football you play, mate. But honestly, God, you know.
Yeah, West Ham 2-1. I'm going for.
All right, Chris.
I've gone 2-1 City. I'll be made up of Callum.
I'll be delighted if Callum is on the ball.
Chelsea, Man U. Oh, this would be fun.
Yeah.
But they win the league.
Chelsea ain't dropping points, are they? Can we all agree on that?
Aren't United win the league now? They've got Ranić now, so they're sorted. He just drops in and they all go. Right. They all run. Let's
have a chat about Ranić.
That's how it works, isn't it? He just says to them all, run harder, and they all go, righto. That's it. Job done.
I'll tell you one thing about him, right? He's, as a director of football, he is exactly what they need. As a director of football, he's perfect. If he's given the reins to clear the decks and sign players. But I don't think he will be. Because I think you've got too many players that are on big contracts that are quite happy to take a wage. And once you have 4 or 5 of them clogging up your 25-man squad, that limits your options really, really heavily. The likes of Phil Jones, Juan Mata,
This is
Matic.
This where I know me and Callum have this debate about the wages. You got Liverpool fans are the ones who talk about wages. I've got United fans. This is the wage thing they talk about, which is we gave the players what they wanted, kept giving the players what they wanted. We can't get rid of them, and it's not because they can't afford to buy a new player. They can't physically get rid of him. Nobody wants him. Nobody wants Phil Jones.
Nobody can afford to sign a Phil Jones on the wages that Phil Jones is on.
So what they're sometimes doing is keeping a Phil Jones, paying him, but not putting him in the squad, which financially at some point is going to hurt you. And that's why they've had the problem with, they probably wanted to move De Gea in a couple of years, but they couldn't do because of they gave Sanchez a big contract, so they had to match it with De Gea, and then they couldn't. Now, then when they wanted to get rid of him, everyone's going, I'm not paying a goalkeeper that. Yeah, and this is where the balancing act is.
Could you just bring up that comment there from Ant Dicko? Breaking Juve in trouble for false accounts.
Oh no!
Oh
that
no!
What a surprise!
That is not the first club in Italy in the very recent past, or not just Italy, but across Europe, that their books are being scrutinized more and more, and some deals that were done between Italy and Spain are coming into question.
Yeah,
and some deals that happened into the Premier League are coming into question. And I think,
luckily for Juventus, they've never been in trouble with the authorities before, it'll be fine. It's not like they've ever been relegated for stuff, is it? Not a problem.
But when we look back at some of the deals that happened in summers gone by, and you're looking at yourself, scratching your head, thinking, how the hell did that player get? How did they get that fee for that player?
Artur and Pjanic.
Yeah, they said it was. Yeah, it was falsified. Everyone's good. What? Who knew? At the time, everyone went, "That's an odd deal. That doesn't look right." That. Something about that doesn't look right to me.
There's going to be. See, the thing is, it was all different back when they got caught on the video with the referee, because it was only really Juventus involved, and it was very easy to punish one club in one jurisdiction.
Well, technically,
this is going to involve a lot of clubs.
It was also punished 2 clubs. Well, Milan should have been punished, but
Berlusconi was
let them off, and they ended up winning the Champions League final in a competition they should never have entered. Not that I'm bitter, but that is actually what happened. They shouldn't have even been in a competition.
But that's definitely
you pull strings the right way, you get away with it.
Yeah, that's definitely a story that's going to run over the next week.
Be intrigued to see what other clubs are linked.
Right, sorry to cut you, Chris. Cal. I feel sorry for you that this has come up, because you're just going to get WhatsApp messages. You know what, Kev? You're probably going to get them as well. You're just going to get WhatsApp messages from me now, just fantasizing about certain Juventus players we can sign at Liverpool. So.
not in this.
Then I'll go back to going like
Chiesa.
That's working.
Yeah. That's about it, mate. When you got it was funny. I was watching yourselves earlier on Kopish tonight. When you were talking about Juventus and Italian football in general. And yet, I think Italian football as a whole, the league is on its arse. They're so poor. The quality in that league at the minute. Yeah, you've got the odd 1 or 2 players here and there that are doing bits. But Tammy Abraham is looking like a world beater for Roma. Chris Smalling is an absolute legend. You have to look at these players who are going over there and doing absolute bits for their clubs. And you look at them as like you were bang average and you were touted to go to West Ham, and you probably wouldn't have got a game at West Ham, let's be fair. So when everyone starts talking about these big fees for players that are playing in Italy, in the same way as they're talking about Luis Diaz and Gravenberch and all of these players, look at the leagues they're playing in. Look at what they're doing in those leagues. And ask yourself,
can they replicate it?
Can they? Not so much can they replicate it, because I think in time some of them could. But the fees that these clubs are commanding with the Premier League tax, you have to look at it and think, there is really no value in some of these players. I mean, if Newcastle want to go out and buy Luis Diaz for 75 million, which is
crazy.
Bejan, I promise you, mate, Chris Smalling at Roma is the dogs. Honest to God. The Italians absolutely love him. He is a man-mountain centre-back. He is one of the best centre-backs in Serie A last season. That tells you everything you need to know about Serie A as a league.
Sad.
You know? It is sad because there was always a case of you look at Serie A and La Liga in probably your generation. But for me, Serie A for me growing up was the pinnacle. It was the pinnacle of where players went to in the mid-90s, late 80s, when you had the likes of Platini and Boniek playing for Juventus, and into the 90s when you had the Milan sides. It was what the Premier League is today. And it's just a case of how far they've fallen is mind-boggling because they can pump money into it left, right, and centre. But it's just bleeding money from what I can see.
Yeah.
You know?
Would you take Luis Diaz from Porto?
At a fee?
Yeah. The 2 games I've seen has been pocketed by 48-year-old James Milner and Nico Williams. Just
I wouldn't say it's pocketed by Nico.
No.
Well,
not in that first half.
What did he do? He was rubbish.
No, I hear you. I think it was
he created like 2 or 3 good chances in that first half.
Yeah.
It's
a very
for me, he's good. 75 million is absolutely ludicrous, but I do think there are better suited players out there for us.
Yeah, but if someone was to turn around and say, look, 25, 26 million, I think that's his fee. I honestly think 25, 26 million.
But here's the thing: does he play? He only plays from the left, doesn't he? I've never seen him play from the right.
I've never seen him play on the right, but he's predominantly right-footed. So I think that is where he would have to play. I've never seen him play centrally, but I think he's quick enough. But he's quick enough on the ball. It's his decision making that worries me because that one that he laid off to Otavio, that was just stupid.
Yeah.
You know, he's not quite Mark Gonzalez. Let's be fair.
I thought Mark Gonzalez was the answer to bloody everything when he signed it. And then I saw Richard Dunn outpace him.
Mark Gonzalez was our Pepe, wasn't
he? Yeah. And then I saw Richard Dunn outpace him. I thought, in trouble there.
Don't know how these Weetabix that morning.
Yeah.
I mean, Ragnarok, is he something to worry about? I don't think he's anything to worry about this season.
No,
because I don't think he can get that. He can get a tune out of that squad the way he wants to.
He'd probably get more of a tune out of it than it was currently getting. But how good that is, I'm not sure.
I think we'll only know a couple of years down the line. Nothing instantaneous. So this is what will probably happen. Barring a Chelsea game, Man, you might go on a run where they don't lose for 10 games and everyone will be like, oh, yep, turn the corner, Ragnick at the wheel, whatever slogan they come out with next. But it's not going to be sustainable. We'll only know how important Ragnick is when they actually go and bring in another manager. If they give him, as you said, Kev, some reign to do what he needs to do, which is what he's amazing at.
But he's only there till the summer.
If they get played, and I mean,
his
if
main
they get
job,
the right players.
Yeah, his main job apparently is to appoint the next manager.
Yeah, and here's the thing: I spoke about this yesterday, and like when you look at Man United players as a brand, they're name brand players. But if you actually break down the players, like, are they as good as people make out? And I genuinely don't think they are. I mean, Wan-Bissaka, he was a name brand player at Crystal Palace. He's regressed since he's been at Man United. Luke Shaw, he's had one good season since he's left Southampton. He's not that great. Tellez, good, but we haven't seen enough of him. Eric Bailly is their only good centre-back, and Varane's good as well, but Eric Bailly and Varane are both injury-prone. Maguire's awful, Lindelof is awful. They haven't got a DM. Fred, McTominay, and Matic are all not good enough. Bruno, excellent player. Pogba, hot and cold as a tap. Greenwood, Rashford, and Ronaldo on paper sounds phenomenal, but who creates anything for each other there? They all get the ball. They've all got their head down trying to shoot. There's no balance. There's no cohesion. And a lot of their players are just names. They're not effectively good players.
There's too many of that team that have been at the scene of
spot on.
Too many missed opportunities.
Yeah.
How many?
Been saying it for weeks on here.
But
it's that squad, that whole ethos, everything at the club. They're in a worse state now than they were when when Moyes left. They're as bad as when Fergie left. Even as champions, that squad was Fergie got the last dregs out of that aging, old, decrepit squad.
He protected his legacy with that squad he left.
Yeah. And Moyes was hamstrung from the start. Their squad, I think, on paper, yeah. If I was playing on FIFA, yeah, I'd play that side, no bother. In reality, they can't press. They have no spine. They have no midfield. They have slow tugboat centre backs, and they have no confidence. And I will be.
They've got good social numbers.
I will be gobsmacked if they get top four. If they get top four, the only reason that happens is if Arsenal completely capitulate.
And all the other teams as well.
Yeah, I think it's Arsenal's to lose.
I think it might be West Ham's to lose.
Yeah. Nah, I think Europe will catch them out in the final third of the season. But I've got Chelsea down for 4-0. And in fairness, it's only going to be 4 as long as Chelsea can be bothered. If they want to make it more, they'll make it more.
I put 2-0 because Chelsea just get 2-0 and just play with the food. Then I just go, we'll save ourselves for the next game.
I reckon 3.
Kante being out is a problem because I think
Chilwell could be out for the season now.
6 weeks. It's a partial ACL.
That's good. Well, not good.
No,
sorry.
It is good.
I'll rephrase it. It's good. It's only a partial. It's not a.
It's a partial. Yeah. It's. I mean, Chelsea's system, that 3-5-2, 3-4-3, is completely based on that two-man midfield being one of them being Kante, because Kante is an absolute animal. Yeah. You take Kante out of that, then you almost have to make it a 3-5-2 because you need the third. You need the third man in there.
I do like Kovacic, Joe.
I do as well, but I think you need the third person in there. I think he needs to be him, Kovacic, Jorginho, plus a Loftus-Cheek or another midfielder. To make up the work, no.
Do you remember when everyone wanted him?
No, not everyone, Kev. Sorry, Chris, be honest. Not everyone wanted him.
Everyone with brain wanted him. I thought, to be fair, Sol, I thought he'd work out. I didn't quite have a heart attack when I didn't throw toes that probably didn't come. Yeah. I'm surprised he's not had at least a bit more of a look in. I don't think he's certainly not an awful play, but he could be another example of he just doesn't suit the league.
It could just take him a little while. I think Chelsea will qualify from Champions League now, right? So he'll obviously play that last game probably. He'll get a couple in the league and a few appearances. He might even get some minutes in the Man United game. They'll probably be 3-0 up by about 60 minutes.
I wouldn't surprise if they send him back in, John.
Yeah, I think they will. I think they'll send him back. I think he will.
Which Madrid won't be happy about because they don't want his wages.
But I think the thing is, he reminds me an awful lot of the Iago Aspas situation at Liverpool. Some players just ain't good at traveling. They don't like it outside Spain. They like the idea of playing outside Spain, but in reality, it's a completely different ball game, especially in London, because it's a huge city. And if you're on your Jack Jones, then it can be a very lonely place, especially in COVID times when you can't.
Just address. I'm not dying on a Soul Hill. I've died on many others. There's a few others I will die on, but that's not one of them. And Callum knows the big one I will die on.
I think he goes. I think he goes back. It also frees up a space in the squad for Chelsea to go shopping if need be.
Yeah, the hill I will die on is the manager who I think is even more irritable than Tuchel. And honest to God, if he ever becomes a Liverpool manager,
he could be a United manager if Ralph stays there,
because he's a bell end anyway. Suit that club. I cannot stand the man.
Oh, sorry, Kev. It's interesting you speak about Chelsea. Do you genuinely think they'll go into the market in January?
Yeah, I do. I'd be surprised if they don't.
Where though?
I think they'll look to probably add a central midfielder and move one on. I wouldn't be a bit surprised to see them go for someone along the lines of what Jorginho and Kovacic can do.
Okay.
but I'd be surprised if they don't. See, I think I've always said they're a better side with Lukaku not on the side. I think they're a more fluid side. Losing Chilwell for these few weeks is an issue. Maybe they look to bring in someone on a left mid who can see in the future. I see Cucurella at Brighton as that type of player who could go to a Chelsea and play that left mid role, that up and down, left wing back, stroke left wing type player. I think that is his role. That in the future, I would be a bit surprised if he does end up at Chelsea. I think he's that good. But Alonso can do a job. So whether they'll use this as a warning shot for the future, that they might look to fill that slot this January, I don't know. But I'd be surprised if they rest on their laurels on the squad that they have. I'd be very surprised.
Maybe a centre back. They did go hard in the summer for a centre back and never got one.
They could be looking to long-term replace Rudiger if he's not going to sign his new if he's not going to sign a contract.
Yes.
You know, they might look to bring in a replacement. I mean, you still physically have to create a space in the squad. So by taking Saul out of the squad, that frees up a squad place that you could bring in a centre back. You could bring in another position in January for next season.
Sorry, that really made me laugh.
Okay,
FSG won't spend if it was a Black Friday in the transfer market. So that really tickled me, that though.
To be honest, I see where you're coming from there, Kev. I mean, if I'm Rudiger, though, the only other place in world football you really can go is probably Bayern Munich. Bayern Munich could do with a Rudiger, maybe.
They could do, but I think he goes to Madrid.
Sure, good shout again.
No, I'll waste 1 minute and I'll say this is how I see Real Madrid next season. They'll sign Haaland for the fee.
I know.
They'll sign Mbappe for free. They'll sign a Rudiger for free. They'll pay the wages. And the reason why they'll be able to afford the wages, you've got Bale, Marcelo, and I think one other of the old guard. Their contracts are all coming to an end. So that frees up an awful lot of wage power without having to pay out an initial transfer fee. And those transfer fees, even though it's a buyout clause, you can pay one buyout clause off the books really quickly. It will be expensive to sign these players because to sign an Mbappe, you have to pay the signing on fee in a lump sum. You can't stretch that over the contract, and they still have to work within the constraints of La Liga.
But also, they've definitely spent much.
And they have no competition in that league for players now. No Barcelona to challenge them.
Atletico Madrid are big competition. They're still backed by an old state in Qatar. So they
have that pull of Madrid, though, especially with Simeone there. I think Simeone's very Marmite, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. But I think Real Madrid are next summer. You will see them. Look, Real Madrid at the minute, they're top of La Liga. They have a game in hand, and they're quietly going about winning. You know, putting themselves in a position to win La Liga this season. They have a very young squad. They're gonna. Whether they look to flog on a Benzema next summer, I doubt it. I think they keep him for a year and use Benzema to bed in the others. But when you've got a front four of Haaland, Mbappe, you'll have
Vinicius
and Rodrigo.
Jeez.
And behind them, you'll have Kroos and Modric to be replaced.
Camavinga,
they've already bought in on the cheap. You've got Casemiro still there as the old head. You've got Ferland Mendy. You've got a centre-back in Militao who's developing and younger. Yeah, thanks, Laura. Bale, Modric, Marcelo, Isco.
Jeez.
2022.
Yeah,
that's a lot of wages to free up, you know what I mean?
Haaland's going Madrid, isn't it?
And then you've got a centre-back in David Alaba, and you add Rudiger.
I feel like someone told you that a year ago, Callum.
You got Rudiger and Haaland, David Alaba at the back, they're going to be a force again. Look, they're never going to go away. They
No.
were never going to go away. But I can see that project really taking shape next summer. And that's
Barcelona might go away for a while.
They won't go away for long. They just won't. Yeah, they will financially, but eventually, look, for any buyer of a club or an investor of a club, the only thing that will scare Barcelona is their 50+1 model.
Mm.
That's their biggest problem. Because the fans have so much control that scares away investors.
That's worked out well the last couple of years as well.
Yeah, look, I mean, that's that you could do a whole show on that on its own. And I think
we might do that in the international. We might do that in the international break.
No, I think I'll be honest. I think it's definitely going to be one that comes up in the Man on Football show, or football. What was it they were calling it the other night? Man Around the World Football or something. But no, it's the Man on Football show. Will more than likely definitely
storms clearly hit the northwest of England here.
Yeah, I'm seeing.
So Chelsea, I've got Chelsea 4-0. Chris, what have you got him?
I've got 2-0 Chelsea.
Callum?
3-0 Chelsea.
Quick question. MC's asking, do we think the system has helped the likes of Rudiger and Chilwell rather than actually them being good enough? Which is interesting.
Me and Drifty went back and forth on this earlier.
You go on, Cal.
I think it helps. I think it's definitely helped the likes of Alonso because I actually don't think Alonso is good enough. But I think it suits him playing as a wing back.
I think it's a huge disservice to a manager and the players when people say they're playing three at the back. That's the only reason they're winning. Loads of teams across the world play three at the back and still get absolutely destroyed. We've seen us play against teams with three at the back and just cripple them. Chelsea are doing well because they actually have a competent manager who's employed a competent system. Even found out earlier on today, Reece James has got a higher average position than Sadio Mane. Sadio Mane is one of the best left wingers in world football. And their wing back, who's not a wing back, because Thomas Tuchel's come out and said he's a midfielder. Like, it's not a coincidence. They are bombarding teams. They are pressing teams brilliantly. They're hounding teams. Thiago Silva, everyone was speaking about his age. Thiago Silva is currently one of the best centre-backs in the league. And I think you can put him in a 2 and he'll still do well. Maybe not as well as he's doing now, but I
do think a 3 helps him more. I think it helps.
I agree.
Hide the weakness, but accentuates his positives, which is on the ball, his dominance in the air. But 3 at the back protects his lack of pace because he's 37, 38. You wouldn't expect 37, 38 to be quick.
Agreed. But if you actually look at the way Chelsea played, Rudiger's the one that usually drives up the field with the ball, and they are often left with 2 at the back. Rudiger sometimes steps into midfield, which allows one of their midfielders to step up even higher as well. Chelsea are a well-oiled machine. Like, look, I hate Chelsea to bits. I really do. But they're a well-oiled machine and they deserve credit for the turnaround they've had. Mendy has been the best goalkeeper in the league so far this season.
Yep.
Reece James, look, I'm not going to compare him to Trent. Trent's better, but Reece James has been excellent. Chilwell has scored some important goals and been pretty good going forward. And their attackers have been good. Like Callum Hudson-Odoi has kind of turned his career around. I thought he was on a downward spiral. He's turned it around. Pulisic has just come back from injury. Ziyech is looking a lot better than he looked previously, even though I still think he's overrated. He's looking better. Like, you just have to give them their flowers.
Yeah. The only question I've always had with Chelsea is the goals they're getting from fullback is how sustainable is that? It might be. Listen, it could be very sustainable, that system. I'm not fully convinced yet. Listen, that's not me saying Chelsea aren't going to win the league. It'll be us, City, and Chelsea will be there or thereabouts at the end. Yeah. It's one of those 3. And that's not exactly a blinding bit of insight there. But, so when I express doubts, it's not me saying, that's it, Chelsea are done. There's still something about Chelsea that doesn't quite convince me yet. And I can't put my finger on what it is. Yeah. No, maybe it's blind. It could be blind faith that I'm just hoping it's not happening.
I still think Chelsea will finish 3rd. I think they'll finish behind City and Liverpool.
I think Chelsea's... I love that system. I'm a huge fan of a real 3-4-3. The way Barcelona played it and the way Chelsea are playing it now, with three centre backs both the left and the right are aggressive. Ideally, the right set, like the way Chelsea are playing it, the left centre back is, if it's Azpilicueta, he can carry the ball into midfield. Rudiger already does that. The right centre back would be Azpilicueta.
Yeah.
Reece James is a 100% right mid. He is not a fullback in that system. Go on, Chris,
Laura's on fire.
Laura Duffy is on fire, isn't she? So,
Yeah.
because Laura, so what you're saying is that Frank Lampard wasn't a great manager. Absolutely shocking. Next, you'll be telling us Conroy is Scottish. Oh, we love Conroy.
I love Conroy.
But the way that system works, when it's right, it's almost impossible to beat. It's to beat it, you have to be brave and play split strikers and leave them on the halfway line, and literally play narrow as you like with your two strikers as a left winger and a right winger, and support them through the middle. But the way Chelsea play, they play an attack from the wings. They don't want the ball in the middle. They want the ball wide. And when you watch Chelsea, that's how they play. So it's almost the complete reverse of what most sides do. Most sides go from out to in. Chelsea don't until they absolutely have to. They're a fascinating side to watch. And as much as I detest Chelsea and I hate the philosophy of the club and what they're founded on and how they are where they are, I admire their transfer policy because of the way they sell to buy. They do sell really, really well. And this summer showed that more than most. They don't get enough credit for the way they've sold players. And the fact that they've built this side probably for reasonable money that they've earned. The owner really hasn't thrown much money in on top of what they've done in the transfer window. They're going to be thereabouts. For me, unless sides figure out a way of taking points off them over 90 minutes, they will beat most sides. They're the biggest flat track bullies in the league.
Yeah,
I think they'll be happy enough to settle for a draw or even the loss against City or the point against us. They'll batter the living daylights out of everyone else. And that's how I think that's their path to the league. Whether it's good enough for them to retain in Europe, God, I hope not. They'd be insufferable. But
could be worse. You could live in London with them, couldn't you? Oh, sorry. Anyway,
it's rough.
Right.
Rough.
Look, we've been skittling on here for like an hour and 20 minutes. And the big game of the weekend for us is Southampton. We're not going to go massive deep into it. There's no point. I mean, look, I've got it down as a 3-0, purely and simply because I think we'll go as strong as possible. I think there'll be a few changes from the Porto game, obviously. But if we turn up, we win. If we turn up with the attitude that we had in the first 45 against Porto, we'll lose. That Porto first 45 minutes was glossed over by what happened in the second half with Thiago.
Wonderful goals.
All right, stop. We need to talk about the goal. Sorry.
Which one?
Okay, Thiago, did it bounce?
Yeah, it did.
Did it bounce or did it glide?
Glided.
Oh,
it just kissed the grass.
It did. He gave me a little peck. He gave the grass a little peck.
I said to Kev before we came on the show, I said, do you remember the old cheap flyaway balls you used to buy from the corner shop?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like when you kicked one of them properly and you watched it swerve. It was like that.
Oh, that technique on that.
I must admit, and I never thought I'd say this, I think I went full Andy Gray. As soon as he said, I went, oh, you're beauty. Because I couldn't believe it. I was like, I was about to say, don't shoot from there. And as soon as he said, I went, fucking hell's going in.
I was like, I was standing. I had you guys on. Look, I'll watch a game. I'll have you guys doing the watch along on the table I had the commentary down, and I just listen. How? Then I thought of Jamie home. I thought Jamie's going to go and need to change his trousers.
Yeah, I did that. That was the first
just
person I tweeted was Jamie Home straight away. Is what I thought.
I just thought, how?
It's
What?
special, isn't it?
To be fair, though,
it's as
he's been
clean a hit as I've seen
threatening
since
that for us.
Gerrard against West Ham.
Yeah.
He's been threatening that, I would say, for most of the season. That sort of goal, or he's been getting. I've noticed Thiago's getting in the box a lot. There's been a lot of block shots, and it's just not quite fell for him. You always feel like a goal was coming for Thiago. Admittedly, I wasn't thinking that.
No.
You know, that's just outrageous. You know,
we have got a catalogue of some phenomenal goals so far this season. You know,
I was going to say goal of the month is interesting.
Yeah,
the goal of the season so far, because I tell you what, as much as Mo's against City, I think still is the best because of who he beat and how he beat them. Technically, that strike, you could ask him you could ask any other player to hit that and not a chance.
Naby Keita against Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
It wasn't as good as Thiago's.
It wasn't. But it was on his weaker foot, though.
Yeah, and it was a pure hit.
Both his feet are weak because he's made it crisp. So that's not a hard thing to say.
Behave.
At least he's back for the weekend. Oh wait, no, sorry, he's still injured. No.
But what would Salah goal?
Yeah, I still think the City one is better because I honestly
even Salah said that. To be fair, when he was interviewed, have you scored a better goal than that? And he goes, probably last week.
But even Salah's goal in this game, the drop of the shoulder, he sent the Porto defender out of the camera angle.
But I've got to admit that
we're working with HD now and 4K, and he was out of the camera angle, guys.
The other thing I would say is Bobby Firmino scored the funniest goal of the season away at Porto. Well, honest to God, it looks like the keeper's running in treacle back for that goal. It's the funniest goal.
That was hilarious.
You just needed the Benny Hill music over it. And it'd been, honest to God, I can't believe no one dubbed it with the Benny Hill music. It would have been perfect. It was the funniest goal I've ever seen this season.
Origi scorpion kick thing as well that he did.
This is the thing, right?
Yeah.
Those goals hid, for me, what was
it's an average performance.
Look.
The
the Arsenal game, we've been poor for a while. All right. We haven't been really on it. We've been managing games. We've been getting through games. We've been getting wins. Yeah, the odd clean sheet here and there. But we've been riding our luck, and we rode our luck against Porto. Diaz made some shocking decisions in that first half, and a better side goes in 2 or 3-0 up. And we can't be that complacent.
But do you also think, though, if there was something riding on the Porto game, as in, we needed the points, does he play that side?
No.
I'm not convinced.
No, but there was plenty riding on the West Ham game, and we didn't take our chances.
No, I get that. I sort of treat the Porto game as a little bit of
it's an anomaly,
an isolation game, because if we got beat, I'd have shrugged. The fact we won and had one of the best goals of the season in there was like, oh, that's a nice bonus.
Yeah.
But Southampton's more important because do we back up the Arsenal performance or do we have another Brighton performance? That's the bit I want to say. I still think as long as Liverpool play 2 of Henderson, Fabinho, Thiago, maybe Milner. Yeah, I think as long as you play,
No,
2
I get you saying there.
I actually don't think he play. I don't think he plays all 3. I think it's Chamberlain, Fabinho, and either Thiago or Henderson. I think he's going to save all 3 of them for the derby, which is
just
on Wednesday.
Yeah, just
because it's Saturday, Wednesday, isn't it? But then again, I fell into the trap before with Klopp. I go, he'll save it, especially for the derby. Then actually half the kids turn up and lads you've never heard of.
What would be your back 5 then, Chris?
Trent, Van Dijk, Tsimikas. I think he might go Konate again. I think he might save Matic for. I'm not sure Matic would do 4 games in 10 days. That might be a push for him. If he can, then I'd play Matic. But I wonder if he might give Konate another run, who I did think had a very ropey opening 40. I mean, I did see the Echo getting pelters for saying he had a shaky start before he's not started. But He was shaky first half.
Yeah,
he was very
We
shaky
said it.
first half.
We said,
But I think as Liverpool fans, you've got to have a little bit of thick skin to go. You can't say Konate was shaky first half because he was shaky. Doesn't mean he's rubbish. Doesn't mean you think he's crap. He was shaky.
The best thing that happened for me in that first half was Konate getting booked. Because as soon as he got booked, he calmed down. He stopped pressing up against people. He stopped being dragged into positions that he shouldn't have been in. And that settled him down. And he improved after that. Yeah, I'd agree with you, apart from I think he gives Robbo an hour. I think Robbo gets an hour. I think Trent comes back in. I went for the same centre-back pair in. Obviously, Ali in goal. Callum?
I think Konate starts. I think you guys are right about Matip. I would start Matip, but it's a risk because if he gets injured or pulls up in this game, throwing Konate in the derby is a big ask.
Then again, he did throw him at Old Trafford. I know it's not.
He did, but let's be honest.
But still, that's still a hostile atmosphere to throw someone into.
I don't think it's not more so the hostility. It's more the actual team and the type of players. Calvert-Lewin's would be a difficult game for Konate. Whereas,
I don't think he'll be back. I don't think he's back for the derby, though, is he?
Okay, brilliant then. If not,
I don't think. He's touch and go. I think he's more likely.
They'll rush him back. They'll rush him back. I would go Tsimikas in this game, but I don't think Klopp will. I think it's going to be Robbo.
I didn't think the reason I think it's Tsimikas is this will then be Robbo's played half an hour's football in about 2 weeks. It's the longest break he's ever had. It'll probably do some good. That's what I think.
He looked energized when he came on and looked really good.
He looked extra. I think he was extra motivated because I think he probably started looking at Tsimikas going, "No, this is real competition now."
Yeah.
And to be honest, I think every player needs that little bit of a kick up the arse.
Yeah, of course.
It's not a dig at Robbo. I'm not saying he's not pulling his weight, but he's had a bit of a dip. But now he knows, well, if I have a dip, he's in.
Yeah.
Whereas, to be honest, last season, he was playing that. If he had one leg or not, he was still playing because we had no one else.
We had no choice.
Yeah, I mean, any midfield three?
Fabinho, Thiago, and Ox. And I'll say this now, and I've said this a little while. If Fabinho and Thiago are fit, they're the first two names on the team sheet in midfield, and someone else joins them.
Okay.
You're only saying that because Drifty's not here.
No.
Remember, I said it, Kevin. I got absolutely battered for it. I said if you said to me who's your starting 11, everyone's fit, I said I would drop Hender and it'd be a double pivot.
Yeah, he brought receipts. I was there,
and I've been getting it ever since.
I think that this is a period of time that you use the squad, and I don't think when you don't need to overplay players that you don't. I agree with you with Fabinho. This is where I'd go with Fabinho and Thiago and Henderson. And the only reason I go that way is to give Henderson an hour. He's at 10 minutes. He's at half an hour. I'll give him an hour this time and bring him off and bring Ox on. And give Milner the half hour to replace, or 20 minutes to replace Thiago.
Get booked.
As you do. And, but you know what I mean?
Can we talk about the Milner bucket at some point?
I love Mill. I love him. I love Milner.
But you have to give players their minutes when they need them while not overworking the squad. I think Ox has done really, really well. And if it was a case that we were playing Saturday and then we weren't playing again until next Saturday, then I'd be, that 100%. That would be my midfield. Ox, they've earned the right to start again.
Yeah.
But purely and simply because we've got Saturday, Wednesday for the foreseeable now. I think you have to manage what you have, and you can't play the same three all the time. And we need to manage Fabinho or Henderson's minutes back into the squad to get him up to match sharpness and match fitness, and Milner for the League Cup down the line and Everton down the line. So that's where my midfield three would be. I think we'll see that for an hour, and then decide after that, depending on the game situation, which way you go. But I mean, I'm not bothered either way. At least the options that we have now with Milner being available again off the bench, and Ox and Hendo and Fabinho and Thiago, they're a lot better than the options we had 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm erring on the side of caution about managing players' minutes over this next month, 6 weeks. Because it's relentless now.
Yeah.
It is relentless now. The other problem is where we don't have what cover we'd normally have is up top.
Yeah,
And I don't
problem.
I don't think we have many choices as to
it's Salah, Mane, and then
another.
And the reason I say another is it's how much of a knock Jota took on his knee. I mean, he's on the bench for Porto, but I don't know if that was just a token sit on the bench, he's not coming on. So if he's fit, he starts. I think if he's not,
I would start Origi.
That's the one. I think he might. I don't think it'd be Minamino. I don't think he did enough. And whether people like it or not, Klopp trusts Origi.
Yeah.
What he'll probably do is play Origi left, which everyone hates, and play Mane through the middle, just to really wind us all up. But that's kind of what he does.
Salah through the middle. Either way, it's got to be Origi for me.
For me, it's Origi as well. But Origi and Mane interchange positions really well. Mane doesn't play wide. Mane plays as a striker who starts his positioning on the left, but always ends up in the middle. Salah will get chalk in his boots for the majority of the game. You've seen that positioning map, Callum, that you were talking about today, and the picture is available online. I've retweeted it, and it's on a few other socials out there. But you look at the average positions of players over 90 minutes, and Mane is always the highest, but he's also Salah is the highest, but he's also wide. Whereas Sadio Mane might, on paper, when they do the lineups, he's playing left wing. He ain't. Yeah. He's a left inside forward. Yeah. And him and Divock would interchange positions. And from what I saw of that little cameo against Porto, it was only a dead leg that he suffered against Belgium. Otherwise, he would have played. Yeah, played before he'd have played the 90 if it wasn't for that dead leg. And there's no need to rush Jota. Use Jota off the bench if you need to. Yeah, but if that 11 for me should be, if that 11 isn't good enough to beat Southampton at home, then
we're in a bit of trouble.
We're in a lot worse position that some people think we're in, and we really ain't. Our goal difference and our position in the league is a true reflection of where the side is. Second, third, we have to win. Because Chelsea won't drop points. We have to keep pace with Chelsea. If that point gap gets from 4 to 7 to 10,
then it's done.
You forget it. It's done. Yeah. It's over. Because Chelsea, I think, will be very, very good front runners if they're allowed to be.
Yeah. I think you need to be within 5 with 10 to go.
Yeah.
If you're within 5 with 10 to go, you've got a chance. If it's any more than that, you're generally out of it.
Yeah.
Chris, did you have the same front three? Or did you go with Jota?
No, Salah, Mane, and I said Origi.
I went with Jota in the preview I did over at Coppish, but now you guys have reminded me about the injury. I'm going to go with Origi.
If he hasn't got the injury, then fine, stick him in. That's the reason.
And to be honest, I wouldn't mind seeing Taki if Taki started and Salah was rested. Wouldn't mind that. Because you always have the option of doing something later. Salah's another one who needs to be managed. Yeah. So does Mane. As much as they don't like it, they're not superhuman. They can't play every minute of every game all the time.
Klopp has said on a few occasions that Salah and Mane are the best at resting on the ball or finding moments to rest. He says that's why
that's an excuse for not having adequate cover.
But he also says that's why he takes Firmino off a lot. He always subs Firmino off because he said that's Firmino's biggest weakness. He doesn't find ways to cheat, rest,
or because Firmino's not scoring and we need a goal. and I'm Bobby's biggest fan, but let's be honest. There's games where he's coming off because we need a goal and Bobby's not a threat.
No, he meant talking in general the last couple of years. That's what he means. That's the only way to rest Bobby now is to take him physical off the pitch because he's not clever enough to do the other part of his game.
Oh no, I just seen Venlo drew tonight, so Gav is going to be disgusted. I'm not going to be happy with that. In case you ain't been following Callum, the lads have got a new channel that they're doing, which is Man on Football.
Yeah, I see.
For Man on Football, what they've done is decided they've taken a handful of teams from different leagues and we've adopted them.
Yeah. And
VVS Venlo is one of the sides that they've decided to take on. Why? I don't know. I just think it's a cool name. Elgin is another one. There was one from the Jamaican League, and I can't for the life of me remember what it was.
I'm a Jamaican fan, and I couldn't tell you one of the teams.
I think they just liked the name of the team, and it was weird. But they decided, right, we've all put them in our, those Google pin score apps. International was one in South America, but I don't know. It's just a bit of crack. But what have you got down for a score for the Southampton game, Callum?
I've got 3-0 Liverpool.
Snap. Chris?
I'll say 4 because I can't have the same.
Yeah, I went 3 as well. Look, Southampton.
We should all have the same one. I'll just say 4.
Southampton have some decent players. I think Ward-Prowse's delivery from set pieces is excellent. He'll be a threat from corners,
especially the win tomorrow.
Yeah, ball on the ground, zip it around, and be fine.
Just tell Thiago to shoot from distance. He seems to be quite good at that. Just do that again. That works really well.
But out and about, Callum, UFC. I haven't chatted to you since the night. The last night I had you on was before your big watch along on your on the Sanderson channel, on the Callum Sanderson channel, and upcoming Font v Aldo.
It's a good fight.
They're not it's a good fight, but they're kind of like there's 3 events coming up now to round out the year. They don't have your big one-off huge show until Ngannou against Gan. And that's going to set the new year off with a bang.
Yeah.
Oliveira Porter on the 12th of December.
Poirier,
sorry.
That's a massive fight.
That's the one you're looking out for?
So the reason why it's such a big fight is because it determines so much of what happens next. So obviously Conor McGregor wants to come back and fight Poirier again. Poirier wins that fight and becomes a champion. Conor doesn't get that fight straight away. No. Justin Gaethje probably gets it. However, if Poirier loses and loses badly, Conor potentially goes from being a money fight to it goes from potentially being a money fight to this guy's potentially washed up, because Poirier beat him up pretty bad in those 2 fights. So if Poirier gets dusted, people are going to go from saying Conor's still potentially the guy to is he even a top 10 in the UFC now? So it's going to be interesting to see how that pans out. I'm looking forward to that fight.
What did you make of the boxing last weekend?
Crawford Porter.
Yeah,
I love Crawford. I'm probably one of the most biased people when it comes to Crawford, because he's currently my favorite boxer along with Inouye. I love Crawford. Sorry, Porter. I've got a massive respect for, because he always comes to fight, and if you're in there with Porter, you're going to fight and until you either stop him or the bell sounds for the end of the fight.
So that was the first time he was stopped, wasn't it?
First time in his career he's been stopped. He's been dropped before, but first time he's been stopped.
You think it was an early stoppage? It was a bad stoppage?
Well, it wasn't a ref. It was his dad that stopped. His dad threw in the towel, which that was the sort of talking point after, because his dad came out and was like, well, I threw in a towel because he didn't prepare properly for the fight, and we know what Crawford's like. Now, granted, Crawford, when he gets you hurt, is a killer. And I don't know if you saw, Kev, but before that round started, his corner said to him, they were like, look, he might be winning the fight. And Crawford was like, what? And he's like, yeah, he might be winning the fight. You need to turn it up. You need to turn it up. And he's like, oh, I'm going to get him. And he did. He
did well in the start. I thought he did.
Yeah, he was catching him.
I thought Crawford was slow for the first 3 or 4 rounds. And then the fight started to come towards Crawford a lot more. And I think the corner was having him on. But it was closer than what he thought it would be.
Yeah. But I think that's the way you get Crawford, though. You have to You have to get him in the first few rounds.
He's
It's a
suffering
slow
from
start.
that problem, isn't he? That the competition. It's kind of like Canelo, where he's putting himself out there to get challenged and putting himself up in the weights to find challenges. Crawford is kind of in the similar boat. There's no one at that weight that can
It's only
get
Spence now.
anywhere near.
It's only Spence.
Yeah, I just don't think there's anyone anywhere near remotely good enough.
Yeah.
I honestly think that he's going to retire undefeated, and that's
Could do.
that's
I love
special.
Crawford.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's that's his biggest problem though. Is
Competition.
It's unfortunate for him. It's like for me with Larry Holmes throughout the 80s. He didn't have the competition when he was in his prime. There's an awful lot of really, really top quality boxers that in latter years, like modern day fighters who go on to have O's on their record, they've been promoted to within an inch of their lives.
Yeah.
But that can't be said of Crawford because he's cleaned up he's cleaned up the division and beaten everyone who was in it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's my biggest problem for me with boxing at the minute is
have one belt.
Yeah, UFC is UFC is where it's at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you're going to get the best fighting the best.
Yeah.
But it's boxing. I think boxing is suffering. That fight should have been a pay-per-view fight.
Yeah.
You know, and the fact that it couldn't generate the interest to be even taken onto the mainstream sports channels. Sky were plugging it to within an inch of their lives.
Yeah.
But that's the sad state of boxing at the moment.
Mm.
You know, but UFC has definitely got a decent December to finish off the year. And Ngannou and Gagne to start the 2022 off with a bang. I can't wait for that. We're definitely going to have to chat a lot.
Oh, definitely.
Before this.
Definitely.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have
to
put
me in from now. I'll be on.
Absolutely, 100%.
What's that Friday before the 22nd? It'll be the 20th, right?
Yeah, exactly. We will definitely be building that one.
You've got me
100%.
booked in from now. I'm in.
100%. Listen, guys, we've been going on way too long, chatting too much rubbish for way too long. Thanks everyone in the chat for staying with us as long as you have. You're absolute legends, every single one of you. Chris, Callum, thank you guys so much for coming on. It's been an absolute blast. Big weekend coming up. Hopefully the Reds will get us into the weekend with a bang and a nice, comfortable 3-0 win. We'll do.
Okay. One quick plug for me before we go. Keep your eye out Sunday. There will be an interview dropping. So I've got Megan Campbell, Liverpool's newer left back. She's very kind to give me a bit of her time. So that interview should be dropping hopefully on Sunday. And I'm trying to work on another interview to probably come over the next couple of weeks as well.
Nice one, man. Brilliant.
Cool.
Right. On that note, go in and get to bed, you dirty rascals, all of you. Good night.